Let me ask you something. If you are a coach or info owner and your open rates on your email list are below 20%, then do you think that your emails even land in your prospect's inbox? Is that something you've ever even considered? Because most people just assume the answer is yes. Most people just think that when they click send on an email, that it automatically gets sent to the primary tab of the recipient's inbox. But that's why they never see an ROI from their email marketing. Because the truth is that if you're not paying any attention to your email deliverability, then there's such a high chance that your emails are getting sent to spam, to promotions, and you're completely invisible to your email list. And that's why so many of you say email doesn't work for me. It's not that email doesn't work for you. It's that your emails aren't even making it onto the playing field. You've lost the game before it's even started. You're spending hours of your own time crafting emails, or you're paying thousands and thousands of dollars to somebody else for them to just write your emails. But if your deliverability is broken, it doesn't matter how good your copy is. It doesn't matter how strong your offer is, because you're invisible. So if you want your email to actually be profitable, you don't just need good emails, but you need to ensure that your emails are actually getting delivered to the primary tab. So that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. The truth about email deliverability, why it's killing your results right now, and how to fix it so that it can essentially change the entire game for your email marketing. All right, so now that you understand what exactly we're going to be breaking down, let's first make sure that this video will even be useful for you. So this video is for you if you are a high ticket coach, mentor, info seller, or community owner. So you sell something that's above like $1,000 online, and maybe if you're an agency owner, but only if you're a single service agency. If you are also making over 10 grand a month, you have good client results, you are open to new perspectives, so you have an open mind, and you have an email list, or you will have one very soon. If you fit into those categories, then this video is for you and it will be useful. This is not for you, however, if you are making less than 10 grand a month, if you have no client results, if you are not open to new perspectives, and if you don't have an email list or you don't plan to have one in the future. If you do not fit into those categories, then, or rather, if you do fit into those categories, then click off the video now, because this will essentially be a waste of your time. It's not going to be useful for you. But now that we've got that out of the way, and this video is actually useful for you, let's first talk about why you should even listen to me. So this is some of the results I've got from my clients through email. So one of my clients got him 30K in his pipeline in 7 days, 5K in pipeline on day one, 10.5K in pipeline in 10 days, and then 10K in pipeline in 7 days. And not only that, but we've been able to achieve some pretty crazy metrics through email as well. Like we have 95% open rates, 76% open rates, 70% open rates, 89% open rates, and 76% open rates. And none of that would have been possible unless we had perfect email deliverability. We would not have been able to get 95% of the list to open if we did not have perfect email deliverability. So my point is that when it comes to email deliverability, I know what I'm talking about. So now, without further ado, let's just get right into the source and first break down what's keeping most of you guys stuck. So this is where most of you guys are getting stuck. You've been told a lot of myths about email marketing, especially the people who come to me and work with me. They've been told so many different myths, and you really have to understand and debunk these myths if you want to get results. And because these myths are essentially the reason why you're not seeing any results and you're not seeing an ROI. The first myth is, when I send an email, it will get delivered. When you click send, that automatically means that people are going to see it pop up in their inbox. But that's not true. Just because you hit send doesn't mean that Gmail or Outlook, that they're actually going to put it in someone's primary inbox. In fact, if you've never thought about deliverability before, there's a pretty high chance that your emails are ending up in spam, they're ending up in promotions, they're being flagged, they're being filtered, etc. So people aren't seeing them. The second myth is, if I write better subject lines, my open rate will go up. And that's true. But the problem is that if the email never lands in the inbox in the first place, then your subject line doesn't even matter. You could write the best subject line in the world, but if it's going to spam, then you're still going to get a maximum of a 2% open rate. And the third myth is my email provider handles the deliverability. I get all the tech stuff with the email providers and all of that different things can be confusing. And yes, platforms like ActiveCampaign, I think even ConvertKit and MailChimp, they have stuff that can help you with your email deliverability. But at the end of the day, they're not guaranteeing any kind of inbox placement. They don't guarantee that you will hit the primary tab. Deliverability is about your reputation, your setup, your sending habits. It's about all of those three different things. All the provider does is it's kind of like driving a car. The provider gives you the vehicle. The provider gives you the car, but you are the driver. You are in control of the actions that you take inside of the vehicle. In the same way, you are in control of your sending habits, your reputation. You are in control of that. If you keep swerving the car, then you're going to crash. And if you have bad sending habits, then you're going to land in spam. So let's just zoom out for a second. If you believe any of these myths, and if you've been led to believe any of these myths, then if you think like, if you send an email, it'll get delivered, or if you think it's all about the subject line, or my platform handles the deliverability and the tech stuff for me, then of course you're going to be frustrated with email marketing, because from your perspective, you're doing everything right. And that's not to bash you, that's just what you've been led to believe. But from reality's perspective, your emails aren't even reaching the people who you want to help. And that's why email marketing feels broken to you, not because it doesn't work, not because your offer's bad, not because your copy's bad, but because your deliverability is shit. People aren't even seeing the email pop up in their inbox. And once you start seeing this clearly, then your results will change, because deliverability is literally the difference between email being a waste of time and it being the most profitable channel that you have in your whole business. All right, so that being said, let's dive into the first big shift that you have to make in order to start making your email marketing profitable. So most people think that if they write amazing copy, that people will open, they'll click, they buy, etc. And that's partly true. But even the best copy in the world doesn't matter if your emails aren't being delivered. If they aren't being delivered, then nobody's going to see them in the first place. And email service providers, people, things like Gmail, like Outlook, they don't care about your copy. They don't know anything about your words. All they're doing is they're watching how people engage. They're watching how people engage. Do they open them? Do they click them? Do they reply? Do they ignore them? Do they delete? Do they mark it as spam? Engagement is the biggest factor when it comes to whether the next email or the next email or the next email actually ends up in the primary tab and in the inbox, or if it ends up in the spam folder. If you have terrible engagement on your emails, then you have a high chance of it ending up in spam. And you know, this is so important because people spend thousands and thousands of dollars on hiring someone to write emails for them, or they spend hours of their own time writing emails only for them to not even be delivered, because they're too focused on the copy side and they're not focused on the tech and the deliverability. And in order to understand this, what we have to understand is email marketing isn't just writing emails. There are 3 layers to email marketing, 3 different layers. I'm going to draw a little diagram here for you guys to understand. One of those layers, fantastic, it's not working. One of those layers is the copy. So what you guys are focused on, most of you guys are focused on. But there are 2 more layers. The second layer is strategy, which is things like segmentation, your lists, etc. And the third layer is tech. Email is not just writing emails. Email marketing is not just about writing emails. Everyone's focused on this, but there are 2 more layers that you have to consider: the strategy and the tech. And within the tech, you have to remember and what you have to consider is the deliverability. You don't win with clever subject lines or witty emails if your audience doesn't even see them. You win by making sure your emails land consistently and that people interact with them consistently. So stop thinking email success is all about copy, because this is what everyone's focused on all the time. Copy. How can I make this better? How can I get this better subject line? How can I do this? How can I do that with my copy? And instead start realizing that email is just about sending emails that are seen, are trusted, and are interacted with. Copy helps, but engagement is what drives deliverability. And deliverability is what ultimately is the backbone behind all of your results. Because when you nail the tech and when you nail deliverability, then email results will come so much more easier and effortlessly than they ever did before. So start focusing just on the copy and start looking at the other two layers, including tech and deliverability. And that brings me to the second big shift. Now, the second shift is that you are chasing vanity metrics. You're worrying about things like how big your list is or increasing the number of emails that you need to send per week. And don't get me wrong, things like list size and your frequency of emails are really, really important. They're extremely important. But before worrying about those, ask yourself, how many of your emails are actually landing in your inbox? Because 99% of people have terrible deliverability, and it's the reason they never see results. So put your focus on the backbone, which is deliverability, before you start focusing on more of the front end stuff, which is like how many emails or list size. Visibility, and this one is really, really important. Visibility is what you should be focused on before any other vanity metrics like list size. Okay. Before focusing on how many emails you send, focus on how many get seen. Focus on the visibility. And once you start looking at your email through this lens, you'll notice that. And I've studied like literally tens of many 6, 7, 8-figure lists. Like I get hundreds of emails every single day from different email lists, and I look at them and I study them. What you'll always notice is the lists that are pulling in the most amount of money, they aren't always the ones with the bigger lists, but they're the ones with the most visible lists. Because just imagine for a second, if you have a list of, let's say, 10,000 people, one person has a list of 10,000 people, but 40% of their 40% of the list doesn't see the email because it's spam, and then so that means that 6,000 people actually, the email actually pops up in 6,000 people's inbox. Now, let's say someone with half the size. Let's say someone who's got in fact, that's not going to work. Let's say someone who's got a list of 8,000 people, so 2,000 people less. And let's say they have 90% deliverability. Okay, that means that 7,200 people will actually see the email pop up in their inbox, which is more than this person. So even though person A over here has 2,000 more people in their list, person B is actually getting their email exposed to and sent out to more people, over 1,200 more people, and 1,200 more people that could potentially move forward with their offer. So list size, before worrying about list size, focus on the visibility, focus on the deliverability, because deliverability is the backbone. And this links to something I've talked about in my last video, which is just the type of coach that you are. Instead of being the coach who cares about the vanity metrics, don't be the coach who cares about the vanity metrics. Vanity metrics are metrics that don't move the needle forward. And instead, be the coach B, that is focused on the visibility, that's focused on the trust. And this is really, really important when it comes to email deliverability. Focus on who's actually seeing the message, not how many people are on the paper. So my overall big shift for you here is to stop worrying about the vanity metrics. Stop focusing on them first, and instead first focus on the visibility. First focus on the deliverability before anything else, before your open rates, before this, before that, open rates, subject lines, click rates, whatever. First focus on the deliverability, because the deliverability is the backbone behind everything else. And then finally, let's talk about the third big shift. The third big shift when it comes to your email campaign, so you can actually start making them more profitable, is that deliverability is not always about the fancy tech. Deliverability is simply not I've spoken to so many coaches and info product owners, and they think that deliverability is some super technical, internety type of thing, but it's not. All deliverability is, and all the inbox providers, things like Gmail and Outlook, all they are looking for is just human conversation signals. They just want to confirm that you are a human and not a bot. They don't care about, how slick your setup is and all of these type of things. They just care whether they can trust you. That's literally all they're doing. Every single email that you send is kind of like a mini test. All the email service providers like Gmail and Outlook, they look at each email and they think, do people open? Do people click? Do they engage? Again, we're linking back to what we were talking about in our first shift about engagement. This is the main thing that they look at. They look at engagement in your emails. Look whether emails are getting replies. They look at open rates and all of these different things. And based on that behavior, they decide whether you deserve to land in the primary tab and you deserve a front row seat into the inbox, or you deserve a one-way ticket to spam. It's not always the software. Most of the time, it's just about building a reputation. You're either going to build trust with the inbox provider, and you're going to build what's called sender reputation, which is essentially, as it is, the reputation that you have sending emails, which determines your deliverability. You're either going to have good sender reputation, and you're going to be building that up, or you're going to be burning it, and you're going to have bad sender reputation, and you're going to be getting sent a one-way ticket to spam lane. Most people who have just started email, they're new in email, they think that deliverability is just kind of like a click of the finger, you can solve it. But deliverability is nothing like that. It's not like a switch that you just flick on and you flick off. Real people who've actually been doing email, like I've been doing email for a year now, we understand that it's about earning trust with the email service provider over time. It takes months. It can take months to really hone in your deliverability. But once you dial your deliverability in and you start consistently getting perfect deliverability, that's when you're going to see your results completely skyrocket. And if you want to scale to 30, 50, 100 grand a month using your email list, then you have to stop treating the email service providers like Gmail, like Outlook. You need to stop treating them like they're some robots, like some machines, and just start treating them like basically like a gatekeeper to someone who you have to build a relationship with. Just try and get them to trust you. Make it seem like you're human and not a bot. And the way that you do that is you just have to prove through consistent and trusted sending that you belong in the primary tab and in the inbox by maximizing your engagement. And when you adopt that mindset, then email stops being like this scary tech thing. Especially email deliverability stops being like this kind of scary technical thing, and instead it just starts becoming a simple game of trust, as everything is in business and online business nowadays. All right, so now that you understand how to view email marketing, that was essentially the purpose of the section over here to essentially get you thinking like a 30, 40, 50, 100 grand a month email marketer. Now you're thinking like one. Let's talk about the next actionable and practical steps that you can take towards perfect deliverability, like we've been able to do here with all of our clients and get them like 95% open rates and 89%, literally like 75+% open rates consistently. So you can actually make your email marketing profitable. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first big thing is list hygiene and segmentation. Now, those can be complicated words, but essentially most people just blast their entire email list with the entire email. Let's say that each of these lines represents 1,000 people in your list. And you have this one email that you're sending out. You do not want to send this one email to the entire 5,000 people in your list. You do not want to send it to all of the 5,000 people. Because that's a huge mistake. Simply because out of those 5,000 people, there's going to be a lot of dirty or disengaged emails that just won't open. And because of that, they'll tank your deliverability. So what you have to do regularly is you have to clean your list. You have to clean your list. You have to remove inactive emails and people who aren't active on email anymore, people who are like bounce backs or spam complaints. You have to remove all of those people from your list. So keep your list healthy, keep it clean, and essentially ensure that your list is only comprised of highly engaged people who open your emails, people who are active, and essentially people who are likely to open your emails, because that's how you're going to improve your deliverability. So start with a small group of highly engaged subscribers, and then when you start sending to them consistently and you're getting opens and you're getting clicks, then your inbox reputation, your sender reputation will increase, and then you can start sending to bigger segments. So to recap, because that was quite a lot there, send to a small, highly engaged segment within your overall list. And then as your sender reputation improves, as it gets better, then you can start sending to a larger proportion of your list. The second thing, and this is kind of, this is more of a technical thing, and that is authentication and technical setup. Let's just ignore the spelling for now. This one's huge. And actually one of the tech things that actually matter. Usually I say that a lot of the time it's not the technical things that hold people back. It's usually that the simple sender reputation things that tank their deliverability. But this can hold your email back quite a lot of the time. Things like SPF, DMARC, DKIM, all of those different records, what they do is they essentially signal to the inbox provider like Gmail, like Outlook, and they tell them that you're a trusted sender. Without them, no matter how much time you put into your copy, no matter how much you pay someone to write your copy for, without them, it can be really, really hard to consistently get into the primary tab. So if you haven't already, really look into setting up DMARC records, DKIM records, and also SPF. Look into setting up all of those. It's really not that hard. Doesn't take too long as well. And that brings us to number 3, which is number 3. And we've already talked about this quite a lot, but it's so important, so we have to recap it. Engagement triggers. Oh, we lost connection. Engagement triggers. You have to be encouraging engagement. Things like opens, like even replies, like clicks as well. You have to be encouraging engagement triggers, because the email service provider, they pick that up, and every small interaction seriously matters when it comes to your inbox reputation and your sender reputation. You can do simple things like ask people questions and ask them to reply to the email. You can have a poll. You can request. You can even just like ask them to reply with a one-word response. That can really, really help boost your deliverability. And what it does is it just signals to the inbox that your content is valuable, and it signals to the inbox that you're a human. It signals it's a human conversation signal, especially when someone replies to your email. So that's more likely to boost your deliverability and boost your sender reputation. And the final thing, that was number 3. The final thing is your focus. And we've already also talked about this, but just to recap it, remember kind of what we were talking about over here in shift 3. It's not just about copy, even a simple, valuable email that gets read and interacted with is way better than a perfect email that you spent $3,000 on that has gone to spam, because nobody's going to see it. Focus on your deliverability above everything else. Deliverability is king. It is the backbone behind, that was a little crown there. Deliverability is the backbone behind your entire email marketing. And it's really, really important to understand this, because most people spend 100% of the time on the email copy. They spend 100% of the time on 1 out of the 3 layers. So just so you guys can really understand this, and you can do this right when you run your email marketing campaigns, this is how we structure our approach. So and we structure our time for each of our clients. So if their deliverability is bad, then we first focus on the deliverability. That's the first thing we focus on. The second thing we look at and we help them with is the trust within their ecosystem. If their system is built on trust, or if it's built like a scammy funnel. And then the third thing we look at are things like opens, copy, and all of that kind of stuff. That's the system and kind of the list that we use step by step with all of our clients to maximize their results. System trust is more important than opens, and deliverability is more important than everything, because without deliverability, nobody will see your emails in the first place. When you have one part of the list dialed in, then you can move on to the next, and then you can move on to the next. And this is really where the way that you view your email marketing and the way that you think about email marketing is so important. It's not just about kind of your actions and what you do, but it's the way that you think and the way you perceive it. Because, and we've talked about this, if you just view email marketing as writing emails, you won't see results. You won't see results, because that's only a small amount of the battle. There's copy, there's tech, there's strategy. And I'm going to go into this a bit more depth here. There are 3 different layers: the copy, the tech, and the strategy. To truly see the best results, you have to master all 3 layers. The copy is just things like writing the emails. The tech are things like deliverability, and strategy are things like your list hygiene, your segmentation, all of that. In fact, if we look at the best email marketers in the world, the people who generate the most amount of money, if we go up here, people like Ramit Sethi, who generates like $20 million a year from his email marketing. The guys at Morning Brew, Alex Eber and Austin Rife, who make $20 million a year, their largest acquisition channel is their email marketing. A large portion of that 20 million is from email. Or people like Chase Diamond, who's generated over $100 million in his email marketing. These guys don't just know how to write emails, but what they also know is they understand the tech side of it, how to get good deliverability, and the strategy side of it, how to keep their list clean, how to segment it, and how to ensure that they maximize engagement so that they can ultimately drive the best results. Because when you can truly fully take advantage of this opportunity that email marketing has, it is the marketing medium which has the highest ROI per dollar spent. It has a 42x on average ROI. Then you can make it a profit generating machine. You'll be able to, scale your email marketing, get pretty crazy results in a short amount of time, get really, really good engagement, and make it a really, really effective part of your entire ecosystem so you can scale and grow effortlessly, rapidly, and just build a business that you love. Now, adopting this is quite literally a whole new way to run your email marketing. There's probably a lot of new things and a lot of more things that you have to consider when it comes to this approach. And hopefully that benefits you and that helps you, especially because I'm sure if you've watched until the end of this video, that you're an action taker and you're also someone who knows what they want. And I understand, how confusing it can get with all of these new things, with deliverability, with this new technical stuff, with segmentation, and all of these different types of things. Mastering emails, tech, strategy, it takes a lot of time, skill, and patience. And even after a year of doing it myself, I would say I still have a lot to learn and a lot to improve on. And not only that, but the people selling it online, half of them don't even know anything about tech or strategy. So even if you hire someone, there's a pretty good chance that you'll still be struggling to actually scale because they don't understand what email marketing actually even is. So if you feel like that is you, if you feel like you might be slightly confused or you might need some help, then there's a link down below to work with me where we essentially handle the entire A to Z email marketing process, all of the emails, all of the tech, all of the strategy. So you can essentially just take something off your plate and you can turn your email marketing into a revenue generating machine. But if you don't feel like you need that help, it's totally fine. If you don't feel like you need that help or you're just not ready yet, then just click right beside me here to watch this video, which breaks down something new.